Okay, why an OSSM handbook is going to be the first thing we're going to cover. We're going to then talk about the contents, what's in there. And then we're going to discuss how to get and assemble it. And then, as I mentioned, there'll be time for questions and discussion of what else you might need. The history of the handbook. During the 8 years that I was on the National Council, some things became obvious, and that was precipitated by communities having difficulties in writing their particular statutes. And so we created a cookbook to do that. And then we discovered that there are other resources that would be useful to communities. And the goal was to provide some training for community leadership, because it would have been prohibitive to fly around to each community and do a presentation. And also we wanted to provide a central point for OSSM resources, and we wanted to do it in a way that we had ease of update of information. That's why the loose leaf binder. So what's in the handbook? There's an overview, and I'll be covering each one of these sections as I go. An overview of the order that talks a bit about the history of the order, the charisms of the order, and those kinds of topics. The second item in the handbook is the National Directory, and that won't be available until it's updated. Thirdly, the organization of the U.S. National Office, organization of local communities, all of the aids for inquiry and initial formation, and then a number of resources for spiritual growth and formation, Servite communications, and finally, there's a section on finance that is being updated and is not currently available. So, in the overview section, there's a brief history of the order that highlights secular origins, which is something that's often lost on us. Secondly, there's a brief history of the secular order. There's a discussion of Unifas, a Servite calendar of our feast days, saints' days, blessed days, a map of where the Servites are in the world, and then a description of the Servite charism. Did I go, let's see. I want to go backwards. I think I missed one. Okay, the previous one that I can't seem to get back to in this mode is a description of the national office, what it is, a description of the National Council and their jobs. And then there's a section on the local communities that talks about leadership and has leadership job descriptions, and it talks about the meeting structure of prayer, ongoing formation, business, and hospitality. And there is a particular statute cookbook that helps you to write your particular statutes each year. There's a section on what communities can do to provide Christian service and outreach. And I haven't heard of any official visits, but there's a pre-visit questionnaire and an official visit agenda that we used to do. and a description of how new communities can request canonical approval. The inquiry and initial formation section contains the inquiry formation, the initial formation, and the OSSM prayer book lesson plan. The resources for spiritual growth and formation, there are a lot of materials there. There are several lists of formation materials. There's a funeral pre-planning and advanced directives document where basically secular order members can state what they want for their vigil, what they want for their funeral and for their burial, what Servite items that they want with them. There are some Servite sections to funeral mass that can replace the normal sections of the funeral mass. There's a special collect. There's some things that can be put in the Eucharistic prayer. And finally, there's a vigil service for secular Servites. The Opening Our Hearts and Homes program makes a very good ongoing formation, and it's in there. Father Moons, who is a previous prior general of the order, wrote a pastoral letter called Sent to Serve, and it talks about challenges in the world today and how we should meet them. I think that the letter was issued in the 90s, but things certainly haven't changed much. There's some social justice information. There's a certificate of promise that can be printed out in color on parchment paper, and it looks really nice. And then there's a transcript of a presentation that Teresa's husband gave at a national conference called Mary's 7 Steps on the Way to Solidarity with Creation. Again, that's a good topic for ongoing formation. There is a section on Servite communications that talks about how to communicate with the National Council. There's some Servite family links and a list of Servite publications. And some of the things that I've talked about need to be revised. And all through the handbook, I had mentioned in the previous spiritual resource section, but also in the section that describes the history of the Servites and who we are, there are plenty of opportunities for formation, for ongoing formation. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I know different communities do their initial formation in different ways. Some communities take the formation candidates out of the room to someplace else during ongoing formation. In our community, we meet an hour early to do initial formation, and then those being formed experience the ongoing formation. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to use some of the initial formation topics as continuing formation topics. So what do you need? You need at least a 2-inch binder, 3 if you can't print double-sided. The handbook is in English and Spanish, and it's been made completely bilingual in this new edition. And a binder that allows an insert in front and in the spine is recommended. And tabs are recommended. The tabs that we provide are for Avery separation pages. So all of these items to build your handbook, except for the binder itself, are provided online.